I've been keeping it pretty casual, and I think it's been working. I don't know how you feel. Like the Zoo's interview was one of the ones like that where I just kind of let it flow, and
Yeah, it
it
just kind of went in its own directions and it all came
yes,
together. Yeah.
yeah, and I think with Zoo's episode, I think the big surprise to everyone was how normal he was.
Right. Yeah,
Just
totally.
a really decent chap, like such a nice guy. Like
Hmm.
we had a personal chat a while back, and you were like, and he's one of the kind of like nicest guys in the scene. I'm like, that can't be right.
Right. Yeah, he's the stable factor in retro
Yes,
handholds.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. As I said to Stubbs, that's um, like with like personality types, and you study personality types. And when I did the Enneagram, um, personalities like Zoo tend to be the people that I gravitate towards. Like
Mm.
my best friend, I think I've said to you, my best friend in South Africa is actually very similar to you. Like you do stuff, and I'm
Mm.
like, that's so much like Richard. And it's because it's the sort of like ADHD chaotic brain is gravitated towards a more sort of stable person,
Staple. Right.
and Zoo is one of those.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
can totally see that.
hey everyone, thanks so much for checking out the podcast once again. Today we have Russ. This is, I think, your fourth episode, so thanks so much for bearing with me and supporting the podcast. Welcome, Russ.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it is the fourth time now. And
Yes.
what's funny is I don't really remember what we've talked about before. So it'll be funny to see how much overlap we have between the
Yes.
different
Okay.
episodes. So,
Cool. Yeah, I think it was interesting to go back to your previous episode because it felt like the other day, and we talked about a few
mm.
like issues and things that were happening, and I felt like I'd spoken to you about that yesterday, and it's been a while, but this is a more I've moved the episode closer because I didn't want you to feel like an afterthought. Because last time you were upset with me because I left you to the end and you were like, Aiden, what's going on? So I thought, let's make Russ one of the early, I think you're number four for this season. So yeah,
Nice. I appreciate that.
you have no reason to be angry with me. Cool. Okay, so how's it been going with the channel, YouTube stuff? How are things going?
It's good. It's life in general, especially in this modern age. It's like we're frogs being boiled, things just slowly seem to get worse around us, and then we just kind of make do with what we
Yeah.
have, and I think
Yeah.
that's just kind of,
Mm.
humanity. But things are good. The channel is always exciting, and that's always an important part. It's like I still look forward to the challenges and the successes and failures of the YouTube thing. It's just a lot
Yeah.
of fun. It really tickles all those parts of my brain that keep me active. And this is my
Mm.
first time, with a job that is also creative. Previously I
Okay.
was in a government job, which is
Yeah.
not very creative, but I would still find ways to feel fulfilled. And
Yeah.
this is kind of the opposite, where I'm like bombarded by creative like requirements, and
Mm.
it's really interesting. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we always talk about the cookbook thing, but that definitely was like your trajectory.
yeah,
Um,
and that was me like kind of finding something creative to do while having that government job. Like I
mm,
needed something, I needed to put a mark in the world, and
yeah.
that was kind of hitting both things. And now I'm just doing all of that at once, which is really interesting.
Yeah. And I was checking in with you because I didn't actually I realized I never watched your 600 sub like celebration video and all
Mm,
the questions that you answered, and you mentioned how, and this is something I don't think we've actually touched on, is the fact that you were kind of forced into, not for like you're speaking about your creative outlets and realizing that's like a big part of you, and maybe not as big as you'd realized. And when
hmm.
COVID hit, and you were high risk and you had to actually go away from work so that you could be safe at
Right.
home and all that, and that's how it all started. So
Yeah, yeah. It started with like I made a lot of sourdough bread, and I was like, all right, I'm done with that. And so, what can I do now? And I was like, well, I'm gonna play video games. I'm bored, And so
yeah,
that turned into everything else, basically. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like I think that's where our personalities cross because like I can never just do a thing. Like I have to get
Mm.
so engrossed in it that I become as as expert as I possibly can be.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Totally. If
Yeah.
if you're gonna do something, you got to do it right.
Yes. I mean, like that's where our paths maybe diverge a little bit because like I was checking out your channel in preparation for the episode and realizing like the thing that really sets you apart is just your consistency like your desire for excellence is very, very high. I have a different set of issues, and so like sometimes my excellence does this, whereas your consistency of excellence has been high and consistent, but also the volume of content that you've put out. And I think, I mean, I'm always trying to figure out what's the person's secret to success, and that definitely is one of them. Because even now at over 600,000 subscribers, you are still putting out, like, I've been putting out the same amount of content as you for about 2 weeks, and I am exhausted. you know? you know? So it is quite something that you've managed to do that over a long period of time.
Thank you. Yeah, it is, it is a balance. Like I had to find out the equilibrium for myself, that would make me feel satisfied, keep me engaged, and also not burn me out. And this is basically it. Like this is my routine, and it's a lot of work. I work probably 60 to 80 hours a week. Like it's a lot.
Yeah.
Like and I can see people arguing, oh, it's unhealthy or whatever, but this is the balance that I personally need to actually function properly, And so I work 6 days a week. I take Sundays off, and yeah, I'm working 12 plus hours each of those days. Now, a full work day includes me playing video games, and also includes me like eating lunch and maybe watching a little bit of TV, so it's not like I am at it all the time, but I am active and working up until, I go to sleep, which can be, midnight, 2 a.m, depending on what I'm working on. So it's just how I function. I've always kind of been like that and always working hard and kind of balancing many things. And there are sacrifices that I make all the time. They're just things that are not part of my life that I would love to have part of my life, but it's just not in that part of the equation. And it's not a permanent thing too. That's another thing, people are like, oh, you can't do this forever. I'm like, well, of course, like you can't do YouTube forever, But one of the things I learned about myself when in my time in the Navy was like, you get put in positions that just suck. Like that's just part of being in the military, right? You're just in this thing, like a long deployment or whatever it happens to be. But I learned that as long as you have a finite time to it, like it's going to end, you can handle anything. Basically, as long as you don't have to do that for the rest of your life. Like something in my brain just clicks and be like, all right, well, let's just do this until I don't have to anymore. It sucks right now, but it won't always suck. And so that's just kind of one of those things as well. It's like, this is my working time. Like these are my working years, but I don't plan on doing this when I'm older, and so that helps me to kind of keep engaged as well.
Yeah. You've said that before, I think. And like, we all need to reach our personal equilibrium. Like, I mean, I think the last time we spoke, you were in a little bit of a dip, like making a little bit less content and kind of forgiving yourself for it and resting a little bit. And that's also fun. But we all have to find that equilibrium and be happy with it because like I was definitely just going through that thought process, feeling a little bit insecure about something someone said or whatever, thinking maybe I'm not quite on the level I should be. And I'm always striving to, like, if I'm not as excellent as I feel like I should be in something, I will work for months to get to that level. But, we all have different levels. Like some people can just operate at this level and they need to just not forgive themselves, but be happy and content with that. Because if they go any higher than that, this sounds very like sort of like segregative, but like if they work any harder than that, they're going to burn out. It's like, I think what I'm trying to say is like, like every time I do one of these episodes, I walk away comparing myself to the person. And if I had to compare myself to you, I would get very frustrated because I'd be like, I don't have the brain that Russ has. I can't make 3 videos per week for 2 years. I will die. But on the other hand, I need to also accept that I have this ADHD brain and I can sometimes do like 5 videos a week for 2 weeks and be fine with it. And then after that 2 weeks, I take a rest and I'm fine, So,
we all have seasons,
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. So I think anyone listening to this, don't be discouraged by like Russ's work ethic. Rather, just like take the piece that works for you. You know. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't put these expectations on anybody else, and it's a lot, this is just what makes me happy is like doing this much work. And it's not just YouTube. I mean, this is everything in my life is got this much intensity to it.
Yes.
We're going on vacation. We are going on vacation. We're going to hit everything, and thankfully my wife is like this too,
Cool.
we'll have spreadsheets like, all right, day 1, Japan. These are all the things, you know what I mean? Like that's just what we do. But we're also flexible in some of that stuff as well. And so it's just how I'm hardwired. And it's interesting too, because I wasn't like this like as a teenager. It was something that I developed in the military, like being surrounded by other type A personalities like this really just kind of became part of me. And I wouldn't consider myself naturally to be like this, but it's just now an inherent part of me after, almost 23 years of practice at it.
Yeah, but don't you feel like, because like people have been saying to me, oh, you're getting old and you're getting grumpier. But don't you feel like in your 40s, you start to feel like I'm starting to wish, like, I wish we lived much longer, because I feel like I'm self-actualizing. I feel like I'm like the most me I've ever been in my life. Like I've accepted my flaws, accepted my skills, and I'm like running with the skills and like to hell with the flaws, And I've never felt so much myself as I have in my entire life. Is that not kind of what you're trying to say there?
Yeah, no, it really is that like I am so confident in who Russ is today. You know what I mean? Like compared to previously when I didn't know, and my 20s, I had all these dreams of these things I wanted to do and wanted to be and stuff. And, the one of those dreams kind of panned out, like the one I kind of just shifted towards over the years, and so that's kind of how we are now. And I'm happy with that lot in life. There are other things I missed out in life, by not doing. I never, became like a scuba instructor or whatever, like I never did any of those things, but it's okay. Like I'm cool with that too. So it is what it is.
Yeah, you make peace also because like with the sort of physical things that you've had happen to you, like you just make peace with those things and you're like, okay, well and sometimes that is liberating because you're like, okay, I can't do those extremely like cardiovascular things anymore. So let's go down this avenue. Oh, and I found this whole thing, So so sometimes those limitations just spark more creativity.
Yeah, I've mentioned it before. I don't know if this is on this podcast, but I've written about it and stuff too. There was a moment, we mentioned earlier I had a health issue. So there was a moment I was very sick. It was about 20 years ago at this point. I lived in a hospital for about a month or so. It was here in Hawaii. And one night, I just felt like I was going to die. And it was a weird thing, and I was getting heavy. But like, I just was like, I don't think I'm going to wake up tomorrow. Like it was just this weird, morbid thing that just kind of came across. And it was a strange night. My heart rate was like dropping and like my blood pressure and stuff. And so the nurses were a little scared too. And to be honest, when I went to sleep that night, I was like, you know what, this is it. Like,
this is it.
Goodbye. And like I made peace in that moment with like what I had done in my life when I was only, 20, 25 years old at the time, like what I've done and what I would never be able to do basically. And I just made peace in that moment and like went to sleep. And then just woke up the next day fine, But that moment was kind of pivotal for me because I was like, this is now all extra. Like I'm in the epilogue at this point. Like I'm playing all the DLC in life. And so I like everything was a bonus. And so I was like, I'm going to seize everything that I can. And some of that fades over time, it's like just in general, humans like just kind of forget the visceral feeling of things, in the moment. But still, I do hold on to that kind of thing where it's like, just do the thing. You know what I mean? If you have an opportunity, just do it because you never know when you're going to go to sleep and not wake up. And so that has been a big function for me as well, besides all the other military stuff and whatnot.
Yeah, that's insane, man. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about, and I mentioned in another episode, Stoicism. Don't know if you've heard of the philosophical, and I don't know the exact quotes, but a lot of the thought processes there with Stoicism is like, like you approach something and then like a Stoic will come to you and go, you could probably fail at this today, and like that thought process actually sets you free to, and it's the same as like, you could die today. It's like, it sets you free to go, yeah, but the alternative is I could also live. Like and the same
Right.
as like you could fail at this, you could also do incredibly well at it, and it like opens your brain to all the possibilities of life. And I
Right.
don't know, I find that quite liberating. It seems morbid at the time, but then
Right.
suddenly the spin-off of that is quite positive.
Yeah. It's like, it's really, the question is, what if there is no tomorrow? Like, what would you do with today? And so
Yeah,
that can mean any number of things. Call your grandma, like, whatever it happens to be that really you could be doing in that moment, and you would regret if you didn't. And
yeah,
so that's a big part for me.
yeah, man. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Um, yeah, life is weird, eh? I once, so my dad died at 60. Well, we're getting in the weeds here, but yeah, no, I think I should just share it. And like
Yeah.
we had a conversation like a week before he died. We had a long talk. Like me and my dad had like quite a rough past. Like when I was
Mm.
18, we had quite a big fight, and I left. Like I left. I lived on my own for quite a few years, and yeah. So then late in life, I was now married, and I was chatting to my dad, and we like made peace as far as we could make peace. Like I asked for forgiveness for certain things. I'd hoped that maybe he would say sorry, but he never did. But like,
Mm.
when you make peace with something without any expectation for return, and
Yeah.
then he died, and it was I was so like that moment in my life was so pivotal because it made me realize like, what if I hadn't had that conversation with him? What if
Right.
he had just died and we had all this water under the bridge that had never been dealt with, And
Yeah.
I never thought about that before, but I kind of take that into every relationship,
Yeah.
thinking, like these are like, yeah, these are the things you have in life. It's all you have. So
Right.
just appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Thank you for sharing. Like, that's really touching. And sorry for your loss. And
Mm.
yeah, I actually have a moment like that too. Like, I had a buddy of mine, a military guy, and we left our conversation just undone. Like, it was just kind of like, oh, let's talk about this when you get back. He was going to go on a
Okay.
trip, and he died on that trip, and
Wow.
like never finished the conversation, and
Yeah.
that messed me up for a while. So I love the fact
Mm.
that you had that with your dad. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that. Like, I think of it often because
Mm.
I don't know like how much peace I'd be able to have had I not had that conversation with him. Um, yeah, I mean, we had a rough time together, and yeah, it was, yeah, we like chatted about like, in a like an alternative universe, him and I would have
Mm.
like had a like custom car shop because we both like it's a one thing that we both just loved, and it's actually like the whole retro thing.
Yeah.
We were chatting about all the old cars he used to have, and anyway, so it was really deep and meaningful for me. Anyway,
That's awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
that's beautiful.
All right, so well, that went really deep, so I'm gonna like lift it up a little bit, but still like some deep stuff. So I know the Retro Pocket Mini thing was pretty rough for you. I heard via Stubbs that you were going through a bit of a hard time. So I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because
Sure.
I don't know if you going away for a few days was because of it. If you just needed a break to clear your head. Um, yeah, I don't know if you want to talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit.
So yeah, absolutely. So it all came down to the Retroid Pocket Mini had this screen issue, right? And it was
Hmm.
like not showing correctly, like it wasn't scaling correctly. And their story was that it was something with the firmware, it was something with the chip on board, like that was directing the output signal, and so that they couldn't
Mm.
fix it. Something's wrong with it. And so
Yes.
I made a video. Well, first I reached out and I said, "Can you make a statement about this? Because you have admitted now that you can't fix this, and what are you going to do about it?" And
Mm.
so um, they made a statement and said, "Hey, this is a thing that's got a problem with or whatever." And then they asked me. They said, "Okay, well, what should our solution be? Because we can't accept returns for every single one of these things. It would bankrupt us, basically."
Yeah.
And I'm eternally a helper, like that. I'm a pleaser, and so
Yeah.
in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have given them any advice, but my advice was like, well, I've seen limited return windows when something's wrong. It's like, hey,
Mm.
over the next few weeks, you can return your device if you don't
Yeah.
like it, that kind of thing, right? Like opening it back up, especially because the device had been out for 6 months or so. And that was it. That was the extent of our conversation. But I got the data I needed that they had said that they aren't going to be able to fix it. And so,
For a video
so I,
to kind of inform everyone.
right. And so my video was like, hey, this is what's wrong with it as far as I know. And these are all the things that I've been doing and seeing around the community to kind of help mitigate it. Not to, not to fix it, but basically to make it at least acceptable or to the point where, it might be good enough for you. And for me personally too, it was good enough for me. Like, even though I am a bit of a pixel peeper, like I was like, I can live with this. I can live with that. I can't use every shader, but it's like, it's enough. So I didn't plan on returning mine, for example. But then Retroid released their statement saying, hey, this is our policy. And it was like a lot worse than I had expected. It was like they made a return window, like I had mentioned, but they made it 1 week. And then they said, you got to pay return shipping and a couple other things that were just kind of sketchy. Like they weren't going to accept accessories and all this kind of stuff. So it just made it look really bad. And then me, again, eternal helper, eternal, like, honest guy, I was like, I got to tell people that I'm the one that said that they could use a return window. Not because, like, I was doing any damage control for them, but really just because I can't sleep with myself knowing that, that I have this piece of information that I haven't shared, right? And so I was like, I admitted, I'm like, yeah, I am the one that mentioned that they could use a return window. I didn't know about the other stuff, So that turned into, and I released my video, and in hindsight, I probably was a little more flippant about it, just because I didn't think it, for me personally, like the shaders thing was enough for me to return the device. And so for me, it was all about, finding the solution as opposed to focusing on the problem, And so anyway, so after that, I was like, it is what it is, released the video, and got a lot of blowback. Basically, people saying that I was in bed with Retroid, that I was behind all this stuff. A lot of people misinterpreting what I had said and thinking that I had come up with the entire solution, when it was really just I had mentioned that I had seen return windows for electronics previously. And it turned into this thing that was kind of a lot bigger than I was expecting. And that all was fine. Like there are people who just don't like my content or don't like the way I present things, or, have kind of a bad faith, like, feeling about me that I am, whatever, bought and sold by these companies or whatever it happens to be at the moment. But it turned out that it got a little more personal because I was getting emails, DMs and stuff of people just kind of ripping me apart, and again, like, I understand there's an internet buffer. Like, these are not things that I think a person would say to my face. But it is something where you got that keyboard courage, and then I was in kind of a weird spot where it's like, well, do I defend myself or do I just kind of take it all and just let the internet, come up with whatever they want to? And I ended up taking a few days off because I was like, I just kind of don't want to be part of the discourse, just because I don't think there's a win solution for this at all. Like, I either defend myself or whatever. And so I ended up, someone asked me about it pretty blankly in Discord. And so I was like, all right. So I just gave them like a direct response. I was like, here's all the things going through my head right now. And at the bottom of it, I also mentioned that I took that time to kind of consider whether or not I should even have a YouTube channel, because it kind of was starting to feel like, even though I was trying to do things that were helpful for the community, it wasn't helpful anymore, And so I took that moment and I was like, okay, well, let's, should I have a channel? Should I be doing these things? Is it worth it? There are things in YouTube life that just have been, like we talked about the frog being boiled, ad revenue and income and stuff like that is just going down every year. Like, I'm making less every year compared to even before I went full time, like it's becoming harder and harder to do my job, and so that was one of the reasons why I was like, good time to pause, think about it. And I came away with it saying, you know what, I can still afford to do this channel in the way that I want, with no ads, with no sponsorships. And I can still sustain my family. And also, my family takes care of my wife's elderly parents. And so, like, I can manage all of that stuff, and I'm still able to do it. And I'll continue to do this until I can't anymore. And so, so I took all that away and I said, you know what, let's do a starter guide for RetroArch instead. And so I just jumped back into it. I just needed a few days off. And so that's really what it comes down to. And there are still, it's unfortunate because there's like a ripple effect with that. Like, the way I've been thinking about it is like, I was a scrappy underdog channel for a long time. Like, I was like, oh, this guy Russ, he's coming up. He's going to get 1 million subs someday. Like, we're all rooting for him. And at some point I became the bad guy. Like, I became the shill and I became the corporate guy, even though nothing has changed, and it kind of feels like, the Dark Knight, the Christopher Nolan movie, where he's like, you either die a hero or become the villain, live long enough to become the villain. And sometimes it feels like that, and it's like
Yeah.
nothing has actually changed about my process or the way I approach things or anything else.
Mm.
But just sentiment, people can kind of get old or get over something that's a little bit older or whatever it happens to be. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
not the new hotness. It's all good.
Yes. Yeah. But that's part of maturity. It's like you've got to embrace the the new thing that you've become,
Right.
I guess, for some reason, Bob Wolf immediately comes to mind. Like, I'm
Mm.
sure, because it was interesting when I actually took the video down because I actually felt like it was horrible. Anyway, I made a video, like, kind of in response to something Bob Wolf did. And people immediately started commenting nasty things about him, immediately thinking that I hate Bob Wolf. And
Mm.
the comments were a lot of like, he used to do this, but he doesn't do that anymore. He's just a shill.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, like, for some reason, because he doesn't make Switch content as much anymore, now suddenly he's a shill. It was like very strange comments and horrible comments about him. And I think when you grow above a certain level, things change.
Yeah, no, somebody wrote a really thoughtful email. Like, in addition to all the bad emails I got a couple really great ones.
Mm.
And a lot of it where it was interesting was like from like other like former journalists and stuff. And they're like, we
Mm.
understand what you're going through. Like this is just
Yeah.
part and parcel of like having public discourse.
Mm.
And they were like, just stick to your own integrity, your own kind of honor. And that's always kind of what I do. But one
Yes.
really interesting one that I got from someone was they were talking about, when you get to a certain threshold in the internet age
Hmm.
where you no longer hear the good stuff, you only hear the bad stuff. And basically,
Yeah.
like how many people are sitting down with Tom Hanks and being like, you are amazing. What you did in Big was incredible. Like no one's
Mm.
doing that, right?
Yes.
But I'm sure he sees a lot of hate.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of how public discourse is. You get to a point, I'm not Tom Hanks in the retro world, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's a point where the noise skews negative, and that's just kind of how things
Yes.
are because people don't take the time to be like, you know what, you're still doing great. And I get those emails from time to time, but I get more emails saying, oh, this is all the things you did wrong
Yeah.
and what you should have done differently. And
Yeah.
the Retroid thing was always really interesting for me because there were hundreds of people chomping at the bit to tell Retroid what they were doing wrong and how they could fix it. But then the fact that I mentioned that there was a return window policy that you could potentially do was crossing the line because I was giving them advice. And it's like, what about all the Reddit advice? Like, how is that different? And I get it. Like, I learned from that. And that was just
Mm.
basically, I'm just not going to talk to these companies. Like,
Yeah.
I already don't really have a relationship with any of them. It's more along the lines of coordination of review units.
Mm.
But with Retroid in particular, it was one where I did touch out like to them every once in a while
Mm.
because historically here. So like a couple of years ago, they sent me a review unit and it didn't arrive on the day it's supposed to. And so I messaged them. I was like, hey, you gave me a tracking number, but it hasn't arrived. And so they're like, no, it's been shipped. It's been delivered. And they're like, here's the like in-depth tracking information. And it was
Mm.
to an address in Scotland. And basically somebody had emailed Retroid and said, hey, I'm Russ from RetroGameCorp. I'm going on vacation in Scotland. Here's my new address. And so they changed my
Crazy.
address. And so I was a week behind everybody else in that review
Mm.
because they had to send me a new one, basically. I
Okay.
even like messaged the Scotland police. And I was like, hey, this address is like pulling a scam thing, whatever. They're like, oh, you can't do that unless you live in Scotland. I'm like, okay,
Uh,
I'm just trying to help you out.
well,
Anyway, so since then, every time that they have a review unit, we coordinate, my address and
okay.
make
So
sure,
there's like
I'm going to be home
communication
and all
is
that kind of
built up.
stuff.
Mm.
Right. So my communication with Retroid is a little bit higher than the others because other ones they just send me stuff. I don't even
Yeah.
talk to them.
Mm.
And so that was a relationship. I was like, okay, well, I'll still do that part, but we're not gonna talk about things like advice or
Mm.
what they're planning on doing. Like they just need to say things publicly. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of the decision I made from that. And I don't think again, there's no compromise to my integrity with any of that stuff. But that perception thing is something I learned about, and that if there's an opportunity
Yeah.
to take something the wrong way, people will often take it. So
Yes. I've always been nervous of that. Like, I sometimes I feel like I do cross the line in communicating with companies. It's always made me nervous because this is a very unique niche and industry that we're in.
hmm
And I like in the little YouTube niches I've been in the years, I've never seen a tech industry that is so intrinsically connected to the content creators. Because I mean, what's the blueprint? Because it's not traditional journalism.
Right.
It's not traditional like tech. Like they're not big companies. They're not Apple or Microsoft. It's a very strange world we're in, and so we're kind of making it up as we go along. And I definitely learned a very similar thing through it. I was like, oh, I need to be very careful how I communicate and what I communicate with these people. But yeah, I went very hard on the sort of like moral side of it,
Hmm.
the videos that I made, and I I gotta say, like, I don't, I don't regret it at all, because I got a little bit of blowback with my recent videos. Like I saw uh, on Reddit somebody like
Yeah.
talking about me negatively, and they were like, "Oh, I stopped subscribing, blah 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 blah." And when I made those videos, in my mind, I was like, my sole purpose with these videos is to ostracize those people from my channel so that they don't get involved with my channel ever again.
Hmm.
Like that negative tide of toxicity. Like the reason I made the videos was so those people would unsubscribe. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
it's one of those where even if you made the video that pleased them, it still wouldn't please them, right? Like
yes.
and that's another like kind of bar for me is like, can I sleep well at night with what I've presented? And
Mm,
that's kind of my own metric is like, am I giving to the world like more than I'm taking? Like, am I, that's what I'm looking for right there.
mm,
And it really has nothing to do with, what people are going to say about it or whatever. It really is just a matter of like, is this presenting the version of Russ that I want to be? And
yeah.
then just kind of pushing towards that and pushing
Mm,
more because there's always going to be people who can take something the wrong way or choose to or whatever, but at the end of the day, can I sleep at night? And that's the most important thing for me. So
yeah. Cool, man. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm very, very glad you got through it, and I'm very glad you didn't quit because that's the part that I heard, and I was like, "Oh crap, that's gonna really suck." Um, yeah, I
yeah, I
mean,
mean,
not.
it's coming someday. There's going to be a point where we are not going to have channels. It's coming someday, and
Mm,
acknowledging that is not a matter of giving up or anything like that. It's just a matter of saying, we've got cycles and seasons in life. I'm
mm,
not going to be 90 years old and doing this channel.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
just how it is, and so we got to again kind of embrace that day when we can, because there
mm,
may not be tomorrow.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting, yeah, because people often say, "I say, when are you going full time YouTube?" And I think I made peace with the concept that the other day my response was, "Well, no, I'm going to keep the business and do the YouTube." Um,
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've gotten very used to employing people and like running a like satellite business, and
Mm.
so yeah, that's always going to be
Yeah.
how it is for me. And so
Smart.
one day if the season of YouTube comes to an end, it won't be the end of the world for me.
Yeah. Totally.
That being said, I the money I've made from YouTube, I surprised my wife. Like she didn't know I was getting money from PCBWay, or like she didn't know I was getting as much as I was getting, and so I was like, "Hey, I have enough money to fly for an overseas holiday," and so the tickets were like, so that was quite cool.
That's amazing. That's so
Mm,
cool.
yeah, yeah, that was cool. Okay, let's change the subject. It's been uh,
Sure. Yep.
it's been deep for too long. That was intense.
Yeah.
No, but I'm glad we got through it. I'm glad we got through it.
Yeah. No, I
What?
appreciate having this conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I'm always open for a chat. I wanted to ask you what games you're currently playing. I definitely have quite a few answers to that question, but like modern games, like are you playing any Steam games or whatever, Xbox or
Yeah.
whatever?
So yeah, so about a month ago, I ended up getting sick. So I caught a cold, and then right after that was our like spring break, and so right as I was getting over it, like we went on vacation for a week,
Okay.
and so there was a good 2 week period where I wasn't really doing much work, and I played Ghost of Tsushima for most of that,
Okay.
and that's
Yes.
like a samurai game, made
Yes.
by Sucker Punch, like the people who made Sly Cooper games. It's a kind of stealthy game,
Yeah.
um, really cool, very authentic style game. I really enjoyed that. So I put about 40 hours into that game to beat it. It's a
Good
long
grief.
game.
Mm,
It's a bit longer than I would have liked. I
okay.
like something around 20 hours.
Mm,
But I really enjoyed that and just kind of took the time to kind of immerse myself in that game. The first time I've done that since like God of War 2 back in like 2022 or whatever. Like it's been a long time since I've really been in a game like that.
Wow.
And then I finished that, and then now recently, like this past week, I've been playing a game called South of Midnight, which is, I forgot the name of the studio. It was the same studio that made a game called We Happy Few. So really interesting
Okay.
art style. It's set in like the southern U.S., so like in the kind of bayou country, like Louisiana or Mississippi, somewhere along those lines. And it's got a lot of like southern folklore to it, and it feels a bit like just kind of a third person adventure game, so a bit like got some souls like combat, so kind of like Jedi Survivor games,
Okay.
and then some traversal stuff again like the Jedi Survivor games.
Yes.
Yeah, really interesting kind of game, short game. So it's the retail for it is
I
only
like those.
$40, so it's already 2/3 the price of a big game,
Mm.
and it's on Game Pass for Xbox, so it's like free as long as you
Okay.
have Game Pass, and so that's how I've been playing it. It's only a 10-hour game, and so
Okay.
I'm about halfway through it and enjoying that too. Yeah, and
Mm.
that's what I've been playing modern wise. I've been tending to gravitate towards modern games recently, just because I'm also on that Nerd Nest podcast pretty frequently,
Yes.
and we mostly talk about modern stuff, and so I like to keep abreast and have something to say. And so often, rather than be like, "Hey, Super Mario World again," like I will talk about more modern games and just kind of my interpretations of that, because I do really still enjoy modern games and seeing where the stuff is going. And
Yeah.
I can make a second channel about all that kind of stuff, just because I
Yes.
really do enjoy that art style and just the direction of that entire movement. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting times. I know you made a video about Pluvia, um,
Mm,
and then I recently saw something called Game Hub, but I'm still a little
yeah.
bit nervous about the safety of that app. But
Mm,
I'm quite excited about where things are going. I mean, this Game Hub thing, I put quite a few games. Like when I watched your Pluvia video, it was like really low end games, like very
yeah.
simple platformers, like indie games, like little games.
Hmm.
But I was getting my like sort of not triple A, but like my decent like Firewatch I've gotten to play. What
Mm,
Remains of Edith Finch is playing
yeah.
on a Game Hub.
Great
Um,
games. Yeah.
yeah, for people who
Yeah.
don't understand this, like it's a thing on Android that allows you to play your Steam games. You just sign into Steam and your games download and play. It's like so it's
Yeah.
using WinLater as a layer. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm quite
It,
excited about that. I feel do you think it's gonna make like sort of a mainstream play, or do you think it's always just gonna be a weird thing that we use?
right now it's very niche down, like it's
Yeah.
like a subset of a subset, to
Mm.
play things using a win later kind of layer to it. And Game Hub is essentially just simplifying that process. I haven't covered Game Hub because just some kind of issues I have with the development team. They're the same development team behind Eggs NS, which was like a Nintendo Switch emulator, which was
Okay.
taking code from like Yuzu back in the day and stuff. And
Yeah.
so a little bit shady. And so
Mm.
I just don't want to give that much attention to it personally on my channel. And so that's why I never mention it. But it does simplify the win later process, basically.
Mm.
I can see this kind of getting more mainstream, but the package is not there yet. Like win
Mm.
later itself, a little bit too much work.
Yeah.
Game Hub's got all this kind of shady background
Mm.
stuff to it. There's going to be something at some point, because people are, if you imagine people like you and others who are trying this out and be like, this is amazing. If
Yeah.
something is amazing, it's going to get out. Word is
Mm.
going to get out, right? It's just a
Yes.
matter of how it's going to get packaged to the point where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
now we're all ready. Like the world is ready for this,
Yes.
and I don't see that just yet,
Mm.
but I see it happening. So I haven't made a win later video myself. I've added it and peppered it in a little bit in some other videos, but I'm just personally not at the point where I'm like, this is worth your time too. Like I'm not at
Yeah.
that point yet where I'm like
Yeah.
ready to tell 640,000 people, hey, try this thing. So that's why I've been
Oh
kind of
gosh, yeah.
hesitant on it, testing it out, waiting to the moment where I'm like, okay, now we're ready. And I'm not trying to gatekeep or anything. It's just kind of like, this is the same barometric like thing that I use, or barometer that I use with anything, any
Yeah.
handheld or whatever. It's like, okay, what's getting to the point now where it's like, I'm excited to talk about it and I feel like it's ready. Let's do
Yes.
it.
Yeah. It is interesting. y- okay, I don't want to go on too much about the Game Hub app, but it's just like I put it on my device and it is really slick. Like it's got
Yeah.
such a cool commercial look to it, But then immediately it makes me nervous because I'm like, where are they getting money to make such a high-end app? It all just feels a bit strange to me. And I
Yeah.
reached out to another YouTuber who's been very, he's a new guy, Ryan Retro. I don't know if you've spoken to him
Hmm.
or heard of him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And he's doing great work. Like, he's just been very clever and strategic with his channel. And he did a compatibility sheet and he's put GameHub on there. And I reached out to him and he said, yeah, well, one user did reach out to him on Discord and just say, there's some terminology for it, but it's like a backdoor in the
Mm.
code that they found. But he says he hasn't seen proof of it, but that's enough for me to be like, I don't want to give it too much airtime. But anyway, um,
Yeah.
the thing I love about it, and the thing I like, I'm a bit of a like a if I just want, like you say, like the word to get out, and I'm very passionate about it because I have my Aya Neo, I've got my Steam Deck, and then I've got this, and I know that you've been looking at the Portal.
Oh yeah.
Firstly, I absolutely love this thing. I don't know, how do you feel
Mm.
about it?
I love it with the grips. Do you have the grip? Like the
I
ergonomic grip?
I don't have the grip yet.
Oh man. So it went from like
That's
being
on the
like,
way.
I can see why people like this to
Hmm.
being like, holy crap, now this is my handheld. Like
Okay.
I'm a very ergonomic, kind of stickler, and
Yes.
I didn't like the initial feel of it. It felt kind of flat and just kind of didn't mesh with my hands very well.
Mm.
I think you've got bigger hands than me, and so maybe, it's a better fit, but yeah, it wasn't until I got the grip where I was like, okay, now this is actually coming to its own. And so I'm really
Yeah.
enjoying it. I love that screen in particular, 120 hertz, 7 inches OLED.
Yeah.
You couldn't
It's
ask
so
for a
good.
better screen.
So
Yeah.
I'm taking this on my trip with me. So I'm going to make a play for why I think without the grip. Okay, the grip is on the way, so I'm probably going to change my
Mm.
opinion and I'm probably going to message you and say you were right all along. But the reason, so I've got the x86 devices, the Ioneo sitting there, the Steam Deck sitting there. The Ioneo is a little bit smaller than the Steam Deck, and I absolutely love it. Like, I love that device. I know it's overpriced, but it's a really nice device to play on.
Hmm.
Um, but it's chunky and it's big.
Yeah.
This thing is very narrow. So to
Hmm.
put this in my backpack when I go on the plane is not a big issue. And and then it's Android. So I can use this
Right.
for so many different things on my holiday. So I was just going to take a tiny device. But then I said to my wife, let me put a bunch of Netflix shows on here. Then when we're on the
Yeah.
plane, we can just like share headphones and watch movies and I can play some games. And now with the dodgy win later thingy, I can play some walking sims and that. So it that's why I'm really a huge supporter of, like, someone needs to develop a good layering thing for Steam, and I just hope Steam, like Valve, eventually cotton onto it because the battery. Oh, sorry, the other thing about it is, I know
Yeah.
it's your episode, but I just want to go on about this a little bit. Is
Yeah. Yeah.
the
No, let's
battery
do it.
life on here is so good, the
Right.
efficiency.
Yeah. Yeah, you
So
can watch a Netflix movie and then play a game on the same handheld. On
yes.
Steam, like on a Steam Deck, you kind of have to pick one or the other. Like,
Mm,
okay, what am I going to do now? And you got a limited time with that and that battery anxiety. But the Odin 2's got that 8,000 milliamp hour battery, which just kind of really helps with all those kind of things. And
it's so nice.
yeah, we'll get there. And yeah, I'm hoping that we will see an ARM version of SteamOS, right? And so
Mm,
the ability to be able to boot into SteamOS, like for example, how we can with Rocknix on like the Retroid Pocket 5, like having a layer like that where we can
yes.
just boot into a new operating system, Linux-based, runs on ARM chipsets,
Mm,
and also the chipset manufacturers need to develop the drivers for it and whatnot.
mm.
That'd be awesome.
It
I'd
would
love
be
it.
cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay with the dual boots. That's also cool.
Hmm.
Anyway, yeah, so I really love the Portal, but I'm getting the sticks. Like, I know I've watched your video. I'm getting the
Mm.
stick caps or whatever they are. Um,
Yeah.
and then also one other thing, just before we move on, the D-pad, man. What a
Oh
nice
yeah, so
D-pad.
good.
It
Yeah.
is. This is the best D-pad I have here. It's just so nice.
Yeah,
It's a
personally, I just feel like it's the same D-pad as on like the Retroid devices and whatnot. Like, but it's just they're all good. For me,
yeah,
it hits all the things I need to, and yeah, it's a good one.
but it like, I hear you, Russ, but hang on. Like, it's it's bigger and it's more floppy, and that's what I like about
Yeah.
it. It's got like
Okay.
almost a membrane feeling, but it's dome switches, and I just love
Yeah.
it. Like, I'm enamored by this device. To me, it is like I don't know. I feel like it's the best device that's been made so far in our niche. It's so good. I love
Yeah.
it.
It's yeah, it is a more PS Vita style because the PS Vita D-pad is also a little bit loose in its housing, which gives you that
Okay.
kind of
Yes.
floppy feeling,
Yeah.
and so it's a little bit more like that.
Mm.
I don't mind either way, you know, like as long as it's dome switchy and I can kind of hit all of the functions I need to. I never
Mm.
even really think about whether or not it's floppy, but yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. And I think I thought today, I think I'm going to do a bit of a Russ with the Portal like you did with the Odin too, because I had a
Mm.
chuckle at one point because I went through your channel and I was like, damn, this guy's got so many Odin 2 videos, and it was you just
Yeah,
loved that device. I mean, you still love that device.
still love it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I never owned the Odin 2, but now I have the
Mm.
Portal and I'm just like blown away because like every game I throw at it to emulate certain
Yeah.
systems. Like it just plays every. It's just so nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is so great. I wish the regular Odin 2 had you know, an OLED display. Like the same display, maybe a little bit smaller than the
Mm,
one on the Portal would be amazing. Like that would be my end game right there. I am
cool.
using the Portal more because of that bigger screen. It's really great for
Yeah.
streaming.
Mm,
But yeah, still special place in my heart for that original Odin 2.
mm. Yeah, but there's also like a bit of nostalgia there, I think.
Yeah, oh definitely. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, see, yeah. I'd be interested to see now for me who never had any like attachment to the Odin to get it and then compare.
Mm.
But that's,
Yeah, hindsight is always it's a
Yeah.
powerful thing.
Yeah. Okay, so are you not playing any retro games right now?
Not really, you know, just my usual. So like I use my Mio Flip probably the most out of all my little smaller retro handhelds, you know, like that's just
Okay.
so easy to throw in my pocket, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, playing a lot of like Tecmo Super Bowl, which is one of my favorite NES games, you know.
Mm.
I do chip away at Mario World all the time, you know. I never really get further than like the first couple areas, but it's just
Okay.
I like replaying old stuff,
Yes.
you know. I just
Yeah.
like that like I'm not even paying attention to like speed running or anything. It's just a matter of like, can I get something that I feel is a perfect run? You know,
Yeah.
I do that a
Yeah.
lot with Celeste as well. Those are just games that I just, if I'm gonna have 5 minutes, I don't want to devote the time to actually do something new. I just want to enjoy myself for 5 minutes, and I'm gonna go to an old staple. So I do that pretty
Yes.
often.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like that with Darkwing Duck, obviously, and the
Mm,
original Super Mario, because I I really don't like how the original Super Mario, like once you get into like the main castles, and it starts doing that like maze thing where it starts to repeat
yeah,
itself if you don't do things in a certain
right.
sequence. Like I hate that. I get irritated. So I just love doing the stages in the beginning, and then I'll like play
Yeah,
them forever. Yeah, I
yeah,
love that.
exactly.
Nostalgia, man. It's so good.
Right. I mean,
Oh,
my wife plays only Dr. Mario all the time. You know
you
what I mean?
said
And
yes.
it's the same like three colors all the time, but man, she'll put a couple hours into it every day if she can. You know, it's crazy.
That's so cool. It's so sweet. Like it's just that nostalgia just hits that nostalgia bone, as Tech Dweeb says.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you on that note because I have no nostalgia to Chrono Trigger, and I know you
Mm,
played it through a little while back.
I
Um,
did. Yeah.
do you think that's a good one for me to? Because I like to play a game like that on a holiday. Do you think it's going to be a good one to work through?
So I did play mine on a holiday, like a Christmas holiday two Christmases ago, and
Okay.
yeah, it worked out really well. I played it. What did I play it on? I think I played it on my Odin too, actually. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I played the DS version of it because that one has
Okay.
like additional cutscenes and stuff.
Hmm.
So that's what I ended up doing, playing it with like I think the Drastic emulator or maybe through RetroArch. I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, so that's what I ended up doing, and I enjoyed it. But I'm remembering now I did play it through RetroArch and I did use cheats. So
Okay.
the grindy aspects of it were a little much for me, so I
Hmm.
just put in like a multiplier. So it was like I got 2 times the experience you usually would every time I finished a
Oh, I
battle, which
see.
just leveled
Okay.
me up faster, which then just kind of helped to snowball everything.
Oh,
So I
cool.
did play it
Okay.
in easy mode, more or less,
Yes.
you know. But I did, no, I really did enjoy that. It is a complex game because there are different endings to it depending on how many things you do and whatnot. It's like that was one of
Wow.
the big things about it back in the day. It
Yes.
was like, yes, this game is very expensive, but it has like 8 different endings or something. And so it's
Wow.
like we usually didn't see that with games back in the day. And so
Hmm.
that was a really big deal. But nowadays, it almost feels like did have a bit of a pressure feeling like, okay, I got to make sure I get the good ending. What do I need to do? And so I'm
Yes.
like having to
Yeah.
go online and like,
Okay.
okay, make sure
Just
you get
make
this sword
sure.
at this time in this
Yes.
cave, you know? And
Ah,
it's
that's
like, I don't want
stressful.
to, Yeah, I don't want to deal with all that. And so I ended up just not caring about whether or not I got the perfect ending and just kind
Okay.
of playing it the way I wanted to.
All right.
And I did enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would definitely recommend doing it in a way that allows you to potentially use cheats if
Yes.
you're no longer having fun, because it's
Yeah.
better just to enjoy the game rather than not play it anymore because it's not syncing with you and your gameplay type, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I played Mother 3 on my last big holiday and I didn't finish it because of that.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think I offended somebody on one of the episodes because I said I've never liked RPGs. It was
Mm.
Zoo. He was like
Yeah, I remember that.
nearly put the
Yeah.
phone down. Um, so yeah, I've always struggled with it. You know, even in the NES days when I was a kid, like someone had an RPG and I was just like, I don't understand this. This doesn't make sense. But
Yeah.
I do like when I played Mother 3, it was like a light came on. So when I'm on a holiday, I'm a bit more relaxed. I'm willing to go through a bit of that grind, but I think I'll
Hmm.
do a little bit of cheats. I'll take your advice on that.
Yeah, I think about RPGs as playing a book, basically. Like I'm playing a book at
Yes.
this point. Like it takes some effort on your part to,
Yeah.
just like reading does, right? It's harder to read a book than it is to watch a movie, for the most part, when you're talking about your active participation in it. And
Mm.
so I think of a game like God of War as being playing a movie. And then I think
Yes.
of,
Yeah.
an RPG as playing a book. And so
Yeah.
sometimes I'm in the mood for one and not the other. That's just
Yeah.
kind of how I picture it.
Yeah. So Chrono Trigger, I must say, I played the intro and I was like, bloody hell, this is a masterpiece. Because I mean, we've played so many of these SNES games, and funny enough,
Hmm.
I've never opened up Chrono Trigger, and I opened it up for the first time on the portal, and I was like, good lord, this is such a good and well-made game.
Yeah, it's
And
beautiful.
on that note, like of masterpieces, I just realized because you actually gave me God of War, the Ragnarok, and
Yeah.
I
Merry
realize
Christmas.
I'm playing it very slowly because it's so good. It's one of those things.
Mm.
I think it's like almost like an ADHD thing where you delay the gratification of something because it's so good you don't want it to end. Um,
Right.
so I'm doing that with that game. I just realized I haven't played it for a while because it's so good. It's
It is
just
so good.
so unbelievably good. And like I played at what feels like maybe the third act, like the first act, like but like a three-part story. And so
Yeah.
I got to the end and I was like, wow, that was great. And I was like, I almost thought, okay, that's the game, it's done. It's like that was amazing. And then it like the map opened up and like all these different new things opened. I was like, this is just special. Like, yeah. So I think that happened and I stopped playing because I was like, this is just too good.
Yeah, it is. It is a very good game, and I think I mentioned it when I had messaged you, about it. Was that like it is a single take game. I
Yes.
love film and TV shows. There's a more recent show called Adolescence on Netflix
Yes.
where
I was just gonna.
everything is in one
Yes.
take.
So good.
Yeah, and so this God of War is actually one take. There are a
Mm.
couple of moments where they cut and it's like not specifically from Kratos' perspective, but that's
Okay.
rare.
Mm.
For the most part, it's a single take game, which had not really been done up
Mm.
until then. Some of the older Tomb Raider games, like the reboot ones, those ones
Mm-hmm.
had a similar feeling to them, but not to the point where they deliberately did it with God of War. And so,
Yeah.
from a film kind of guy perspective, I was like,
Mm.
this is so cool. Like that, it's just you never leave this moment.
It's absolutely blowing my mind, and you so immersed in that relationship between him and his son because of that, because
Hmm.
it's you just constantly in it with them. It's so
Yeah,
good, so damn good.
yeah,
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. You scored some serious brownie points with that one.
Nice.
Okay, well, the next question, but we've actually spoken about that, is dealing with the high standards that you've set for yourself.
Mm.
And yeah, we already spoke about that, so
Yeah, I
we'll,
think
we'll
it is what it is. Yeah, I have these really high standards. I always have, and it's just
yeah,
kind of if you're gonna do it right.
yeah.
And it's funny. So one of the guys I'm on the podcast with in Nerd Nest, Carrie, who runs the
Mm.
channel The Fox,
Yeah, he
he
was on
has a
here.
saying that,
Mm.
yeah, I love his saying. He says, if you're gonna do something bad, you better do it right, or you do something wrong, you better do it right. So his idea is like, if you're gonna cheat on your diet with a slice of pizza, you might as well eat the whole thing, right?
Yes.
And so, like, I love that little saying from him. And I'm kind of the opposite, where I'm like, do the right thing and then do it right too,
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so that's just how I am. And
yeah.
my kids hate it.
Yeah.
I'm always like, hey, do the right thing. And they're like, oh, okay, fine. They like pick up their dirty clothes or whatever.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, maybe I'm more like that than I realize. I like to think that I'm just chaotic and crazy, but
Mm,
it's probably why I'm working my ass off. It's just like, I have this thing that I want to be, and I just non-stop
yeah,
just keep working until I can get there. Um,
right.
That's not healthy. I think I need to take a page out of your book and be like, this is my standard, and I'm gonna keep working at this. That where I've got like, this is my standard, and then I'm like, I'm aiming there, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And then as soon as I get there, the lid always gets higher, you know. And so
right.
I never celebrate any victory. I never feel like I've ever gotten anywhere because it's just, I never reach the standard that I'm striving for, you know. So that's not a healthy thing to
Yeah.
do.
No, I totally get that. And it's another thing I have to fight against, you know. I
Okay.
realized this about myself when my second book was a New York Times bestseller, which is a lifetime achievement. You know, somebody getting that they're good
Yes.
for life. That's a title
Yeah.
they have for the rest of their life.
Mm.
And I was, how old was I? I was 35 years old when that happened. And the first thing out of my mouth was like, all right, what's next? And I'm like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? Like, why can't I just celebrate this one thing right now?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, okay, I need to deliberately force myself to celebrate and like
Mm.
be happy with, you know, these milestones, you know, and that's
Yeah,
why I
it's
make these
important.
videos at like the
Yes.
milestone 600,000 subscribers, make a video just kind of talking about whatever. Those videos never really do well. Like it's not like
Mm.
they're going to make me money or something. It's that
Yeah.
it's just one of those things that I need to kind of find that balance. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
totally get it.
it's important. You got to do it, man. Yeah. I think it was the first episode we ever did together, and I was really concerned. I was like, Russ doesn't celebrate. He needs to celebrate. It's a problem, you
Yeah.
know. No, it's good. I'm glad you're doing those videos. I mean, I don't know. Do you feel like it's good for your mental health to do that?
I do. You know, I'm always struggling with, and you may have this kind of feeling as well. I sometimes struggle with giving too much Russ in my videos. Like I'm like, why do people need so much of me? Like I'm
Mm.
tired of seeing my ugly mug
Okay.
on a video, you know? And so it's like I'm always trying to find that balance of like I don't want someone to tune into me every single day. Like I don't want to
Mm.
be in somebody's attention span all the time. I just want to show up when they're ready for me, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and so I get those times sometimes where I'm like, do I need to do a Q&A? Like, do people even care about my cat or, you know, those kind of
Yeah.
things, right? You know, um, and so it's at that point, I just kind of have to shut that part of the brain off and be like, no,
Mm.
this is just a thing I need to do. And it doesn't matter if nobody watches it. Like it's just something that's just part of my own cycle,
Yeah.
basically.
But I mean, I'm sure you, I mean, where am I? 24,000 subs, and I definitely have people who are like, oh, I'd love to know that. Oh, like,
Hmm.
you know, I know that there's a few people out there who would love a video like that when I hit 30,000 subscribers, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Um,
I'd love to see that.
You're more of a fan of the Switch than I am. Like I'm not as engrossed in the culture as you are. So, do you have any sort of serious thoughts about the new launch?
Yeah, you know, it's I feel like it's an end of an era with the original Switch one because, you know, I that was the last
Okay.
console where I really collected, you know, where I actually got the cartridges of all the games that I liked and that I wanted to play because I love the idea
Mm,
of having something that's just an offline console like an old NES where it isn't hooked up to the internet. You just put a game in and you play it, right? And you can do that on the original Switch
mm,
1 with those cartridges, you know. Switch
yeah.
2 is kind of moving away from that. They will have cartridges, but they're going to, you know, they're for some games they're going to have like this game on cart thing where it's really just kind of like a code.
Yes.
You put the cartridge in and it
Yeah.
activates the ability to download, you know. And
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll keep those servers up for a long time, but they won't be forever. You know, 50 years from now we'll be able to
Mm,
use that, you know. Uh, we're talking about the NES, which is,
yeah.
you know, been around for 40 years at this point. I can still play those games. Will we be able to do that with Switch 2? I
Mm,
don't know. And so for me, it feels like at the end of an era and of being able to have physical media. Um, we'll see. And, you know, the pricing is obviously higher than I think a lot of people were expecting because it is kind of going toe to toe with more modern consoles as opposed to just doing their own thing.
yes.
And that
Yeah.
has always bit them in the butt. You know, they tried to make the GameCube kind of compete with the PS2 and Xbox and sales-wise, it did not. The Wii U also was like that.
Yes.
Hey, here's a bump in specs, kind of competing. In the Xbox 360 era, also did not compete, and so I get a little bit worried
Mm,
about that if they're hunting for specs and whatnot compared to just a good gameplay experience. So we'll see. It's a lot of unknowns, but it's exciting to me. I
interesting.
love the idea of being part of that
Yeah.
moment and kind of figuring out what's going to happen.
Yeah, thank you for your perspective because, like I say, I'm not super engrossed in the culture. Like for me, I just looked at it and I was like, this is a really cool piece of tech, like the pinnacle of what the Switch could be. Um, but at the same token, like Nintendo's success has always been in a unique gameplay experience for the whole
Yeah.
family. That's always been like my outside perspective. Like the Wii was that. Like in South Africa, it's one of the few Nintendo consoles since like for a long time that actually did quite
Mm.
well. Because it was just something different and unique. And even like during COVID, people were looking for a Wii console that they could put in their lounge to play some tennis or
Right.
whatever, you
Right.
know? So, like, I really thought they were going to do something completely different. I thought maybe they'd go back to a two-screen
Mm.
setup, you know, but
Yeah,
alas,
they did not. They really just
no.
kind of stuck with their story. I was expecting some sort of weird gimmick as well. Nothing. But the thing
Mm.
is, if I play Super Mario Wonder on my Switch OLED, there's never a moment where I think to myself, "Oh, we need more power. I need this to look better." You know what I mean?
Yes.
I always look at it and go,
Mm.
"This cannot get any better than this." You know what I mean? Like it looks so
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm not for that particular system, I'm not pushing towards getting high end stuff. I like the idea that maybe you could play Cyberpunk on it so you don't have to buy a PS5 or whatever. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
But that's not a priority for me with the Switch, at least.
Mm. Yeah, that's like a whole different thing. You almost feel like maybe if they want to compete in that, maybe do two things. Like give us the old Nintendo experience that we've always grown to
Mm,
love and all the like beautiful platformers and all the things that they do. Ah, yeah, interesting.
yeah.
I've never thought of it that way. So yeah, thanks for that
Yeah, all
perspective.
good.
Um, and I mean, on that note, like where I always kind of get into this with people with some good gaming knowledge, but like, where do you think it's all going? Like, as a sort of newer person to understanding the industry, like, the more I start to understand it, the more I become very passionate about the whole sort of ARM concept for gaming. Like, where do you think this is all going? I know that's a huge like question because there's x86 and there's Windows and there's Linux
Yeah.
and there's Android and all that kind of thing. But I'm sure you have a few thoughts to throw around there.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about something hitting the point of mass popularity, it requires a console experience. People. That's what made the Steam Deck unique.
Hmm.
It had all sorts of cool things going for it. Excellent controls. They did a really great job optimizing that chip and the OS and everything. But it's the console-like
Yes.
experience that really sold everyone, and I think that had the opportunity
Mm.
to really break into the mainstream. Now, I don't think that they did. I mean, they sold a
No.
lot, but it was not mainstream.
Mm.
And part of that is because it's not
Yeah.
available in stores. Like you can't just walk by a Costco and pick one up. And so
Yeah.
that's an element to it. And I think people overlook how many people walk the floors of Best Buy and Costco and Walmart and stuff like that.
Mm.
So I think that experience is kind of the pivotal moment, is whether or not we get some sort of handheld or uh, ARM x86 doesn't really matter. It just needs to provide that
Hmm.
experience that's amazing. The Switch, I think, does that in its own way, and that's an ARM based chip. Um, Xbox, if they would make a handheld, like an actual Xbox handheld that felt like an Xbox too, you know what I mean? If Sony did something like
Hmm.
that, it felt like a PS4. All of those things would probably be very big
Yes.
successes.
Imagine.
Yeah. Um, but I
Yeah.
don't know if we're going to get there. And for me, x86 versus ARM, I see right now the x86 is probably what these handhelds will have to be, but there may be a future where those layers work well enough. Like you think about ARM-based Windows, or whatever. What if it actually is good for gaming 10 years from now? And so, who knows?
Yeah.
But that's what I think. I think that it has to hit that point where it all makes sense for everybody. Price point, operating system experience, availability, all that needs to hit, and we're
Yes.
not there just yet. We're all kind of
Yeah.
enthusiasts at
It's
this
all
point.
over the place.
Yeah.
Mm. It's interesting because testing those games with the win later layers and all that kind of thing, the one thing, so they give a little, quite a lot of metrics on the left-hand side. There's like a little graph to show you what your CPU is doing and all that kind of thing. And the thing that kept hitting the red was the GPU.
Right.
Because the ARM-based chips are bundled with like not as powerful a GPU as you would get with your x86. So
Right.
so that'll definitely be the limit for now.
Yeah.
And yeah, and availability, I fully agree with you because like Lenovo and ROG, who are they?
Asus, yeah.
They're more global companies, and for the first time, so we have Steam Decks in South Africa, but they're all like gray imports because I don't think they're officially supported here. And so they're selling them in this place called Incredible Connection, but I definitely think they've like done some sort of a deal with someone to get them to the country. Whereas the LIX is there, and I know that that is just a straight up, it's supported by Asus in Johannesburg, you know, and that's a massive deal because for a new product, that's a new concept in the world, even though we, you know, live in an online, like buy everything online world, the people who are buying that are going into stores to find out what it feels and looks like. You know?
And they can return it if they don't like it, which is a big prospect, you know. And so the thing is, and then you get a lot of ROG Ally returns. Like you go to Best Buy, you can always see the open boxes behind the counter, you know, and it's because of that user experience, you know, because people are thinking, here we go, handheld game console. It's going to be like a modern Switch, you know, and then they open up and it's Windows and they're like, oh, even your Winlator thing, right? Like it's like, for me, it's hard to say, okay, let me make a video about Winlator. All you have to do is to devote an entire weekend of your life and you'll be able to play PC games on it. Like that's not enough of a prospect for people, right? You got to be able to say, turn this thing on, put in your login credentials, and you can play PC games. That's the point we need to get to, and we're not there yet. Even with like the ROG Ally and stuff, they try to simplify it, but it's not there. Windows is not there in terms of OS experience.
It just isn't. Yeah, and even then, like then you go like all the nerds like me will be like, yeah, but then they must just put Bazites on, but. That's a whole thing as well.
Yeah, exactly. You go into the kernel, I mean, you know, put in your credentials, you know, make sure you get over BitLocker, like, you know, extend your VRAM as needed. And it's like, what are you even talking about, right? I just wanted to turn it on and play games. So.
Yes. Yeah. You see, that's why I do think the whole, like, even with Android, the Android-based ARM device where you can just download an app and sign into your account and play games, it seems like the way forward to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be preaching that for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe someone will listen to me. Oh, cool. Okay, so apparently you have actually prepared for this. So I've been closing the episodes like this. I just figured, like, I'm from South Africa. Maybe people have some questions about South Africa or whatever. So ask Adin anything. What do you have for me?
So you've mentioned in several videos that you're planning on going on holiday and whatnot, and so it got me thinking.
Yes.
So if you were to visit a U.S. city, which one would it be, and why? Like, what do you picture when you think of the America, right? And like, which one is going to give you that quintessential American experience? Like, where would you say, all right, I'm going to go visit one place, state or city, you know? And where is it you'd want to go? Because there's a lot of variety in this country.
Yeah, well, Miles Cyberdopamine got quite like worked up because, and Sham, now he's going to be upset if he listens to this, but I can't remember what area of the country he's from. But he's more like in the hills. He goes snowboarding and all that kind of thing. And I'd had no idea where he was from, you know, so I felt quite bad. Because obviously for me, it's American movies. Oh, man, it's such a difficult question because of like movies and stuff, I do know America quite well. Bloody hell. I mean, my dream is just to go to New York. I know it's very like corny and like everyone wants to go to New York, but like, I don't know, like I used to watch a lot of Casey Neistat's videos and I love cities. Like for me, like now when we travel, I'm really looking forward to, we're going to go stay in the city and I want to go walk the streets of the city. I want to smell all the smelly smells. Like I just want to do all of that, you know? So for me, New York is a big one. And then I know like you've spoken about Seattle and that's another like big one for me. I love like the rainy city vibe.
Yeah.
Like that would be a good one for me. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, there's so much, you know, and I don't even know if I would have a good answer for it. New York City, I think, is a good answer, you know, just because there is a lot to see there. It is very fast paced, and the one thing that
Yes.
people are always alarmed by is the smells of the city, because it's got a
Yeah.
special odor to it, and it's just like, not just in the subway, it's like even up on, in Manhattan on the streets and
Yes.
stuff. And yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
My wife lived there for 5, 6 years. She used to be a flight attendant, and
Okay.
so we go back pretty often. That's like her home away from home, and I enjoy it. But I could
Yeah.
never live there. Like I'm from Seattle area originally, but even then, like a couple hours from Seattle, like I lived in the foothills of a
Okay.
mountain, in the woods, and
Yeah.
so um,
Yeah.
too much city is definitely a thing for me. And yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad you didn't say Hawaii, because I don't think Hawaii is indicative of the rest of the U.S. So yeah,
Okay.
that's a good choice.
Well, I don't think New York is either, because New York's definitely, it's like one of the major world
Right.
cities. So I don't know, maybe like a true American experience would be, gee, I don't even know. Um, I've read what's who's really been selling the cities and towns of the South, like in Texas
Yeah.
and those sorts of places, um, is Queer Eye. I don't know
Oh
if
yeah.
you've ever watched the show
Yeah, my
Queer
wife
Eye,
loves it. Yeah.
but every season they move
Hmm.
around and they really sell those towns. They look really clean and neat
Yeah.
and really nice. But yeah, no, New York is the place I'd want to go.
Yeah, I feel like you got to hit them all. Like, yeah, Austin, Texas is also a wonderful example of America, and even
Yes.
San Antonio,
Yeah.
Dallas is a good city too. Like, a lot of stuff in Texas is really cool, very quintessentially American, with some of that kind of
Yeah.
Mexican influence as well, just due to proximity and history
Yes.
and whatnot. But then also, like, there was one spring break where I was living in Virginia at the time, and we're like, what are we going to do for spring break? We can go up to New York again, we can go down south, or let's go to Ohio. And so we drove west, and we just went to like Columbus, Ohio, basically.
Okay.
And it was so fun. It was very American. We just like
Really?
went by like the NFL
Yeah.
Hall of Fame, and went to go see like the house where
Yes.
they filmed Christmas
Okay.
Story, very like
Yeah.
quintessentially American kind of experiences. And that was one of my favorite spring break vacations we ever did. It was really fun.
Wow,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, because I think the there are those towns and stuff are run really well and all that. So it is quite
Yeah.
interesting. Um, yeah, and I know, speaking to people from there now with the podcast as well, like how you hear like stories in the media and the politics, but then you meet the people on the ground and it's just like so different, it's the same as like people have a concept of South Africa and you're like, no, no, like everybody's
Yeah.
friends. Like we all have each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have definitely skewed visions of South Africa just because, me watching, District 9 and, all those like movies, like with Neil Blomkamp movies, you know what I mean? Like I've got this weird skewed
Yes.
image
Yeah.
of South Africa. And so
Yeah.
I would love to visit that as well.
District 9 is like, I know it's a mess and it's crazy,
Hmm.
but it was very much influenced by
Mm,
Johannesburg and then also by apartheid.
you're right.
So that I really liked that movie, and I was like, this really like captured the message of the movie. Obviously, like we don't have prawns running around Joburg, but um, like the message of the movie was very powerful because it was very much to the heart of like a lot of the core issues in our country.
Yeah.
So it was very good.
Even
Yeah.
though obviously it's sci-fi and stuff, I walked away knowing more about South Africa, and I think that's it's
Mm.
a wonderful kind of experience. And so, all his movies are kind of similar in that way. Like I really kind of enjoy feeling like I'm getting into a new world and kind of coming away with something, a different experience.
Yeah. Have you watched Black Diamond with Leonardo
I
DiCaprio?
have not actually. No, I should, huh?
So he acted, wasn't really South African. He was acting as a Zimbabwean
Right.
guy that was caught up in the diamond trade
Yeah.
and all that kind of thing. And they really like brought light to all of that stuff. But it was one of those movies where you were totally okay with this guy like trying to do your accent because like it was just such a powerful performance and
Right.
like captured a lot of like issues around this part of the world. So yeah, that's worth a watch.
Okay.
Also kind of like touches on a lot of like the racial issues and
Mm.
stuff. Very, very good.
Yeah. It's been on
Yeah,
my
it was a
list.
long time that I watched it, so my sort of politics and stuff have changed. So maybe I don't like it now. But anyway,
it's one of those. I'm specifically like not very good at watching like historical movies and like biopics and stuff, because there's always an element when I'm watching one of those movies where I'm like, is this actually real or is it like Hollywood, you know? And so I have a hard time watching
Yes.
any of those
Yeah.
movies, but that is one that
Yeah.
I think I can probably have that suspension of disbelief and really enjoy it. I should watch it.
Yeah. So one more is it was one with also like a movie where like a big Hollywood actor was acting as a South African, and like I know that upset a lot of people was what's his name? The movie was called Invictus, and it was about the South
Oh,
African rugby.
yeah. Matt
Um,
Damon.
Matt Damon, there
Yeah.
we go, and he actually did a pretty good job of doing our accents, and but that movie like touched on such like the way that they portrayed Nelson Mandela and all that
Right.
was quite good.
Yeah, that's another one
Mm.
again, biopic, you know, and so it's like it's very hard for me to kind of watch those ones. But yeah, I gotta
Yeah,
add that to my list too, instead of just sci-fi movies.
it's all
I'm gonna
good,
show up
man.
in South
Watch your
Africa and be like,
sci-fi.
where are the robots? Where are like the robotic suits from Elysium? You know?
Oh, good. Cool, Russ. As always, like just an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for being on the
Yeah,
episode.
thank you so much. I always look forward to these quiet talks. It's so different than making my own videos or doing Nerd Nest and stuff. So thank you for having me on. I really
Yes,
appreciate that.
thanks, Russ.